Hey everybody, it's Mattie here with Altcoin Buzz with you on this Monday, and I hope you're having a great start to your week. Today we're going to talk about all that is possible in the world of Bitcoin. We're going to take a look at the future price predictions that some have made. We have been covering some very bullish price predictions recently, but we're going to tie this back into something more reality-based in the form of Bitcoin halving. That is something that is coming up. It's probably the single most influential impact on Bitcoin's price one way or the other outside of perhaps the ETF discussion, because it is grounded in reality. It is grounded in a fixed date that inevitably is going to come to pass. So we'll give you Altcoin Buzz's take on the issue. We'll bring you through a definition of what is halving exactly, because maybe not all of you are familiar with it. That's fine. Forbes has a take on it here. What will the next halving mean for the price of Bitcoin? On CoinGape.com here, Bitcoin long-term price prediction. How high halving going to take us? And here on Mickey.com, Bitcoin halving rally will eclipse Litecoin's 300% increase. We'll take a look at all those things, but let's begin here on CoinGecko.com with a snapshot of the market. We're down a little bit today, not too much, sitting at $212 billion, down 3.1%. Bitcoin, although down 3.8%, still up above $7,000 at the time of this recording, $7,074. As you can see, things are kind of flat more or less and marginally down, with the exception here, notably, of Binance Coin, up 10.9% in the last 24 hours at $23 at the present moment. So obviously people are excited about the fact that Binance is opening up its doors again after a suspension of trading following the hack, and people are responding by putting a lot of money into Binance Coin, it would seem, in an otherwise down market, up 10%. Very impressive. Let's switch gears now to this Altcoin Buzz IO tweet. $20,000 Bitcoin. New investors, backed ETF, repeating price history, follow a technical analysis pattern, government bans, stablecoin collapse, big exchange hack. We never know when these might happen. All we know for sure is that halving will happen and that the maximum supply of Bitcoin is 21 million. Let me reiterate what I said before. Halving is going to be a significant and impactful event for Bitcoin one way or the other because it is grounded in reality. It's not something that can be debated. It's not something that can be postponed. Halving is something that is upcoming. It's going to happen. And many people are arguing that based on the economics and the supply of Bitcoin, it's going to have a very real impact on the price. Here on Decryptionary.com. So halving, it comes from an old English word meaning half. In cryptocurrencies, mining is a computer process of recording and verifying information on the digital record known as the blockchain. Okay, so far so good. In Bitcoin and other currencies, mining also requires computers to compete with each other to solve a complicated math problem. Once solved, a new block is discovered that can be added to the chain of blocks, and a reward of brand new Bitcoin is given to the computer that solved the math problem first. So in the context of that reward, halving is the reduction of the Bitcoin mining reward issued by half. So the consequences of halving is that it's going to directly impact the incentives of the miners, the individual miners, and those involved in the mining pools. It also psychologically has an impact based on the available supply of a given currency. In this case, we're talking about Bitcoin, but of course, psychological scarcity comes into play. If more and more people are competing for fewer and fewer goods, generally speaking, economically, the value, the perceived value of those goods will rise. Because of course, with a lower supply comes a higher demand. There's smaller and smaller pieces of the pie that more and more people are fighting for. They're going to be willing to work harder for those pieces of that pie. And Bitcoin is no exception. As fewer and fewer Bitcoins become available to the public, it stands to reason that their individual value will increase in the minds of investors. People will be willing to pay more and more for them. Here on Forbes.com, what will the next halving mean for Bitcoin? We're still more than a year away, but it's something that we should begin discussing. On May 20th, 2020, an event will take place that could change the value of Bitcoin forever. Yet, even with increased public awareness and media attention around Bitcoin, it's an event that few are talking about or understand, despite the fact that it's already happened twice before. I'm talking about the next halving. Today I'll explain what it is, why it can be significant for your portfolio and the crypto markets as a whole, and what you can do to prepare. We've already talked a little bit about what halving means. It affects the reward of Bitcoin that is distributed with every block of the blockchain that is solved by the collective computational power every 10 minutes. So if you want to reread this right here, the explanation, you're free to do so. A little bit of a history lesson. When Bitcoin first appeared, the block reward was 50 Bitcoin. Not too bad. So this means that every 10 minutes, somebody somewhere was getting 50 Bitcoins delivered to their wallet. This was back in the days when Bitcoin was worth pennies and you could mine it using only a laptop. And because halving happened already twice before, the reward went from 50 Bitcoin first to 25 every 10 minutes, and then from 25 to where we currently sit, 12.5. So when the block reward is cut in half, it's done so according to the algorithm. This happened twice before, as I mentioned. This is a feature programmed into Bitcoin and occurs every 4 years or every 210,000 blocks. Once that number is crossed, the block reward is cut in half. This process is predetermined and will continue until the last Bitcoin is mined sometime in the year 2140. So this is the halving process, and it can have long-term effects on the price of Bitcoin. It's set to happen again about a year from now. So how does halving affect the price of Bitcoin? Well, we've discussed a little bit of that, and here's this author's opinion. If fewer Bitcoins are being generated, then the newly increased scarcity, as I mentioned earlier, automatically makes them more valuable. But this doesn't happen right away. For a more nuanced explanation of why halvings correlate with eventual price changes, one needs to examine the role of miners. On average, 4,380 blocks are mined each month and added to the Bitcoin blockchain. As of this writing, the block reward is 12.5 Bitcoin with a price of about $5,000. So we've gone up since this writing, which I'll use for this example. Crunching the numbers shows us that 4,380 times 12.5 times 5,000 equals $273,750,000 per month. This is approximately how much in dollars miners are earning each month in total revenue. After the next halving, only half as many Bitcoin will be generated per day. Doing the same math, you get $136,875,000 per month. So when this occurs, one of two things will happen. Miners will simply give up, or they will refuse to sell Bitcoins generated at a price below $10,000, otherwise known as hodling, right? You guys can read on here about what this author expects may happen as a result of the next Bitcoin halving, but we've gone over the broad strokes here. It's nice to see that Forbes is promoting this kind of information because it is interesting information. It's not overly complex, but as the author described, people aren't exactly talking about it. With another perspective here on CoinGape.com, Bitcoin long-term price prediction. How high halving going to take us? Bitcoin long-term recovery is looking at Bitcoin halving coming in 2020 that is expected to be massive, as experts believe Bitcoin offers a healthier scenario, and history has shown us twice the propensity of halving to take Bitcoin to tremendous highs. So again, the next halving is going to be occurring in May of 2020, and the block reward will drop to 6.25 Bitcoins. That's down from the 12.5 where it currently stands. This already has people trying to predict the Bitcoin price as a result of the halving. Halving occurs every 4 years, or the mining or confirmation of every 210,000 blocks. As you can imagine, more than a few analysts have weighed in on the impact of halving. Kunal Sen here, Bitcoin long-term price prediction with the halving effect factored in. What do you think? As you see, he's got a parabolic wave structure set up here that is very favorable for the future, on which the popular crypto analyst Will Wu shared, quote, another view on a long recovery. Worth bearing in mind, 14, 15, those years, was detoxing from a Mt. Gox collapse, traded 90% of world volume, plus 1/8 of all Bitcoin stolen, plus Willy Bot pumping prices. Systematically, Bitcoin 2018 is much healthier than Bitcoin 2014. Bitcoin analyst Glenn Goodman stated, quote, previous halvings have shown the negligible impact on Bitcoin's price. This is because, rather like a much anticipated interest rate cut, everybody already knows it's going to happen way in advance. So a little bit more of a tempered opinion there. As per Chris Wilmer, a professor at the University of Pittsburgh, he said, quote, historically, the cut has had very little immediate impact, although the price usually rose after. And that seems to be the trend that we've been seeing here in terms of opinions. Finally, you have this according to Garrick Heilman, the head of research at blockchain and co-founder of Mosaic, quote, Cryptocurrency markets are often very event-driven, and as we get closer to the next halving, Bitcoin price will receive a boost from those anticipating the forthcoming reduction in new supply. In the months leading up to the last two halving events, we saw Bitcoin's price steadily trend upward, and then power higher following the reward halving. Miners have historically shown a willingness to maintain or increase computing power through halving events because they expect future Bitcoin price increases to offset the reduced block reward. And finally, with this piece on Mickey.com, Bitcoin halving rally will eclipse Litecoin's 300% increase. This article just from yesterday, the 12th of May. The price of Litecoin, for those that haven't been paying attention, surged 300% in 6 months, preceding the upcoming mining reward halving in August. Will Bitcoin be next? And some people have made this argument that because Litecoin has an upcoming halving in August of this year, that it's an analog or a parallel for what we'll eventually be seeing in Bitcoin on a larger scale. So the price surge of Litecoin has been attributed, like I just said, to that upcoming halving event that Litecoin has in August. Every 4 years, the reward of Litecoin miners, what they receive for each block, is reduced by half. In August, the rewards are going to be decreasing from 25 coins to 12.5 coins. So again, looking at history, historical data shows that the price of Litecoin rallied by almost 700% in the 7 months leading up to its first reward halving. That was in August of 2016. It is worth noting that the currency then lost almost half its value before the halving actually occurred in late August. In crypto, everybody wants to buy the rumor and sell the news. Litecoin traded sideways for another 2 years before surging to new highs in 2017. And so what does this tell us about Bitcoin? But the Litecoin halving is most interesting for what it can tell us about Bitcoin's upcoming halving event in May next year. Historically speaking, the halving starts getting priced in about a year in advance, which could well be a factor in Bitcoin's recent price spike. In the year leading up to the first halving, Bitcoin spiked by 300%. In the year leading up to the second halving, Bitcoin shot up 178%. Crypto analyst Plan B recently released a stock to flow chart that models the impact on the Bitcoin price due to increased scarcity caused by halving. Earlier this week, he released an updated chart on Twitter that suggests the price will increase to $100,000 after next year's halving and an astonishing $1 million after 2024. Take that with a grain of salt, but the sentiment, I think, is valid. A lot of people are expressing a lot of enthusiasm. Not only due to the halving event, but that's certainly something that helps out. Check out this tweet for more information if you're interested, and leave your thoughts and comments, guys, below. We'd love to initiate a discussion as to whether or not you think halving is a significant event. I do. I think it's the sort of thing that is delayed, however. I think it's going to be a slow burn personally, although that's just my point of view. Let us know your thoughts, guys. I think that about rounds it out for today. Do be sure you're following us on all the regular social media and keep checking back into our website, which is altcoinbuzz.io, for news and updates. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share, and hit the bell to receive notifications. Have a wonderful Monday, members of the Altcoin Buzz Army. Best of luck if you choose to invest, and we do hope to see you again soon in our next video. Take care.